Hey everyone, let's just jump right into it. Today, we are unpacking a case that completely shook the nation. It sparked massive media coverage and honestly sent chills down the spines of everyone who followed it. Welcome to this deep dive explainer. We're going to look closely at the facts, the hard evidence, and the meticulous police work behind what became known as Murit's Blue Drum murder case. Now look, this is a highly serious, incredibly sobering topic. Our goal today is to objectively lay out exactly what happened, step by step, using the direct source material and the official findings from the authorities. We're going to walk through the timeline, the motives, and the shocking discoveries that turned a local missing persons report into a nationwide headline.
It all starts with one really unsettling question. Where did Saurav Rajput disappear to? For days, he was just gone. Now, in any normal situation, if someone doesn't answer their phone for a day, you might brush it off, right? Maybe they're busy, maybe their battery died. But as the days stretched on, the silence just became deafening. His family grew incredibly anxious. Neighbors started noticing he wasn't around and began asking questions. You could literally feel the unease building in his community. Because, well, people don't just vanish into thin air without leaving a trace. And it was exactly that intense, growing suspicion that finally prompted the authorities to step in and start asking the hard questions.
Which brings us to the first major turning point in the investigation, the Blue Drum mystery, and discovering the terrifying truth.
So picture this. Police are conducting a search of Saurabh's own house, and they zero in on something that just feels totally out of place. It's a large, blue plastic drum, sitting right there inside the home. An everyday household object suddenly became the epicenter of a horrifying crime scene. When the police finally decided to open up and inspect this seemingly normal blue drum, the mystery of Saurabh's disappearance came to a really abrupt, tragic end, because inside, they found his remains.
With the body discovered, the entire focus of the investigation shifted. Now we have to look at how this actually happened. The gruesome plot, murder and silence.
According to the police, this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment crime of passion. It was chillingly methodical. They laid out a grim 5-step sequence of events. Step 1. Drugging. Saurabh was first incapacitated with a narcotic, basically making him completely defenseless. Step 2. Murder. Once he was unconscious, his life was taken. Step 3. Dismemberment. To actually hide the body, the perpetrators resorted to cutting it up. Step 4. Hiding it in the drum. They placed the remains directly into that large blue plastic drum we just talked about. And finally, Step 5. And this is perhaps the most calculating part of the whole thing. Filling that drum to the brim with cement.
Now you might be wondering, why the cement? Why go to that extreme? Well, the investigation's findings state it pretty clearly. Filled with cement so there is no smell and no one suspects. It's chilling, right? But it shows us exactly how Muskan and Sahil planned to delay the discovery and completely mask what they had done. They knew that decomposition would eventually alert the neighbors, so by sealing the drum with heavy concrete, they were basically buying themselves time. They were hoping that thick layer of cement would suppress any odor, essentially turning a horrific crime scene into an invisible piece of furniture right there in the house.
But what actually drives two people to do something so horrific? That brings us to the real motive, based on the police investigation.
The motive the police laid out is honestly brutally simple. First, Muskan and Sahil were in a romantic relationship. Second, Muskan wanted to live permanently with Sahil. And third, her husband, Saurabh, was just seen as an obstacle to that future. That's it. There was no massive financial conspiracy, no elaborate, decades-old feud. It was a romantic affair where a human life was tragically viewed as a roadblock. A roadblock that just needed to be permanently removed so the two of them could be together.
Now, you know how it is when a case like this goes viral. Social media absolutely exploded with rumors. People naturally try to make sense of something so senseless, and pretty soon these wild stories about black magic and occult rituals started spreading like wildfire online. But the police thoroughly investigated those claims and came out with a definitive statement: zero evidence of black magic was found. None at all. The motive was purely the romantic affair and getting rid of an obstacle, just like we covered. It's a really stark reminder for all of us to always anchor our understanding in verified facts rather than getting swept up in viral fiction.
So, as the initial shock kind of settled down, the case transitioned from a local police hunt into the formal justice system. Let's look at the charge sheet and beyond, legal proceedings and new questions.
Over 1,000. That is the number of pages in the charge sheet the police filed in court. Over 1,000 pages. When you hear a number like that, it really puts the massive scale of this investigation into perspective. This wasn't just a brief summary. We're talking forensic reports, the chemical breakdown of the cement, call records between Muskan and Sahil, witness testimonies from the neighbors, and the exact minute-by-minute timeline of the drugging and the murder. It's a monumental stack of evidence, and it was designed to leave absolutely no room for doubt once they stepped into the courtroom.
But even with the legal wheels turning, real life keeps happening, and sometimes in really unexpected ways. While incarcerated and awaiting trial in jail, Muskan actually gave birth to a baby girl. It's a shocking update that adds this entirely new, deeply complex human element to what is already a really dark story. You have an innocent life, born right into the center of a grim legal battle, housed within the walls of a prison.
And this leads us to the final, really heavy question of this explainer. After the child was born, Saurabh's grieving family came forward with a very strict demand. They want a DNA test for the baby. They want to know the true paternity of this child born in the aftermath of their son's murder. Was Saurabh's father, or was it Sahil? It's a question that really highlights the deep, unresolved emotional trauma left behind by the Blue Drum murder case. Because a crime like this, it doesn't just end when a 1,000-page charge sheet gets filed. The ripples tear through families for generations. So as the legal proceedings push forward, we have to wonder, what is that DNA test actually going to reveal, and how will it ultimately impact the legacy of this tragedy? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those hard questions, and I'll see you next time.